Section 1 of the summer season blanket is made up of 9 quite large squares. 8 of them are in one design, and the centre one is this one, which is to represent a flower, and it's using the variegated yarn for the flower petals and then the solid colours around about the outside. So I'm going to show you how to make this one today, and then the next video will show you how to make the other design, which is what is used for the other 8 squares. You'll be making a total of 5 of this particular square because 4 of them appear in a later part of the blanket, and you might as well make them all up at once. So you've got the flower shape made up first of all, and then we have a round of green leaves and then a border round in the cream and finally in the light green, and that makes up the center square. So let's make a start. So we're going to start with the variegated yarn. This is the Pebble Haze prints. I don't know the shade off by heart, but it's certainly in the pattern, and you will see of course that because of the lovely mix of colours, some of these flowers might end up pink and some might end up a bluey lilac, which I think will be quite nice. And I've got my 4mm crochet hook because this is a DK weight of yarn, and I've attached my yarn to the hook with a slip knot ready to go. So the first thing you want to do is to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, I'm going to say chain 5 because there's quite a lot of stitches go into this center. So I'm normally would say chain 4, but in this case chain 5, and then slip stitch into the very first chain to form a loop, and that loop of course will have a nice hole in the middle, and that's where all your stitches for round 1 are going to go. Chain 2, and that is the equivalent of the first treble crochet stitch, double crochet if you're in the US, and then I'm going to chain an extra 1, so that's a total of chain 3. And then my first treble crochet stitch is yarn over, go into the center space, yarn over and pull up the loop, and you've got 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's your first treble crochet stitch, and I'm going to put a tiny space between each one, so I'm going to chain 1 to create a tiny space, and then another treble crochet stitch, pull through the last 2 and chain 1. And you can see that so far I've got my chain 2, which is the equivalent of my first treble, and then 2 more trebles. So in all so far as the spokes of this wheel of round 1 are concerned, you've got 3 made. The chain 2 counts as 1. So you want to go all the way around working with a treble 1 and then a chain 1 into the center circle until you have a count of 16 spokes, 16 treble crochet stitches, 15 plus the chain 2. So I'm going to work around this center, and I'll be back when I get to the 16th treble crochet stitch. I've just done my 16th stitch and I've double checked that. So this I have checked, and this is number 16. So it's time to fasten off round 1 because we're finished for the time being with this colour. And you've got 2 options for finishing off. Strictly speaking, you should be finishing off in the top of the first chain 2, but it can be quite tight and difficult to get your hook in. So the first stitch that you see that is a nice big stitch to get it through both loops, you can work into that. And that is round 1, and you just need to cut your yarn. You've made a slip stitch to anchor your yarn, and you pull through, and that is round 1 complete. Once round 1 is fastened off and the yarn trimmed, turn it to its reverse side, and we're going to work on that side for round 2. And this is the pale lilac. So you're going to work in between the stitches of round 1. So in any gap, just put your hook in and attach your pale lilac yarn. And then we're going to make another round of spokes of a wheel with a chain between them. So this is chain 2, which is the equivalent of the first treble stitch, and then an extra chain 1, and then into the very next space with a treble crochet and chain 1, and so on all the way round, and you will have 16 spokes for round 2 by the time you've gone all the way round and back to where you started. And just if they bunch a little, sometimes that happens when you're at the point where the chain 2 started round 1, just make sure that you get in between that and the next stitch. And you can of course check how many stitches you have of round 2 by the time you get to the end of it. There should be 16. So I'm going to continue round, and I'll be back when I'm back at the point where I started. So all 16 spokes of round 2 are done, and of course the last chain 1, and all I need to do is slip stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch into the very actually the top of the chains this time, because they're quite clear to see. And that is round 2 complete. So you just need to trim your yarn, pull through a loop, and that's you finished round 2. And once again, it's a case of turning it to the reverse side. These ends will all be sewn in when you've finished the square. That's a bit untidy just now, but I like to leave the ends unworked, unfinished until the square's finished, because if you find that you make a mistake somewhere throughout the square, then it's very easy to pull it back when you've got the ends there. If they've been securely sewn in, that's not so easy. For round 3, we're back to working with the variegated yarn, and I've attached my yarn in one of the chain spaces of round 2, and I'm going to chain 2, and we're going to be making bobble stitches in each of those spaces all the way round. This counts as the first treble crochet stitch, and now we're going to make a treble 2 together, and that is quite simple, much simpler than trying to say it. You just need to yarn over, put your hook into that same space, yarn over and pull up your loop so that you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the first 2, but this time leave the 2 loops sitting on your hook, then yarn over again and go into the same space, pull up your loop, and you've got 4 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, which leaves you with 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3, and then chain 1. We'll do that again. In with you've yarned over, go into the next space and pull up your loop. You've got 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, leave these 2 loops, yarn over, go into the same space and pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and this time we're going to do it a 3rd time. So I'm going to yarn over, go in, pull up my loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and I've got 4 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to pull through all 4. chain 1, and I'll do that again. Yarn over into the next space, yarn over and pull up your loop, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go in again to the same space and pull up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and you've got 3 loops, yarn over into the same space, pull up your loop, yarn over and pull through the first 2. So you're just pulling through the first 2 each time. You've got 4 loops left on your hook this time, and pull through all 4, and then chain 1. And you can see the sort of puffy stitch, the cluster stitch, forming as you push all these stitches together. So I will work all the way around with this cluster stitch, and I'll see you when I've got 16 made. So we've got 16 clusters for round 3, and of course the final chain 1, and then you just need to slip stitch into the top of the first cluster, and there is the most obvious place to go, that nice big stitch that's sitting on the top, and pull it through. You will find this is wanting to curl because it is a little bit tighter, but don't worry at all, because as we turn it over and then move on to the next rounds, this all flattens out. So again, we're going to do another round of cluster stitches, slightly bigger this time, because you want to have your outer edge a little bit puffier than the inner one. So I'm going to chain 2 before I turn, and then turn over. And into this very first space after the chain 2, we're going to make the first bobble stitch. Yarn over, go in, pull up your loop, yarn over and pull through the first 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up your loop, pull through the first 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up your loop, pull through the first 2. And we've got 4 loops on the hook. I'm going to do this once more. So this time we've got 5 loops. Yarn over, pull through all 5 and chain 2 this time. And then repeat, yarn over into the next space, pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over into the next space, pull up your loop and pull through 2, yarn over into the next space, pull up your loop and pull through 2, and we've got 1 more to do, and then pull, yarn over, pull through all 5 and chain 2. So that is the slightly bigger bobble stitch for the 4th round. So I'll work round all there, and I'll see you when I get to the end of the round. Here I am at the end of round 4, and the last thing I've done are the chain 2, and once again I'm just going to go into the top of the very first cluster and pull through and pull through. And that is the end of this variegated yarn. That's the flower part done. Now look at it, it's looking quite humped, or if I turned it that way, like a cup. Again, don't worry, this flattens down, and you will find that as you add the other rounds, this becomes flatter. You want to have your outside row round being slightly thicker, and the best way to see that is to have it on its wrong side. So that's why I'm turning after each round. So I've turned it over once more. As you can see, this final round of clusters is on its reverse side, and the next colour I'm taking is the deeper shade of green. This is the olivey green, and we're going to put a little edging of leaves around this circle, and at the same time start to square the circle off. So anywhere, any of these spaces between the clusters, just put your hook in and attach your yarn as usual. And this is actually going to be the first half of the first corner of the square, but it also happens to be the biggest leaf shape that you're going to make. So we're going to work with the larger double treble stitch, which is treble crochet in US terms, double treble in UK terms. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's the equivalent of the first double treble. And then we've got 2 double trebles to put into that same space. And to do that, you just need to wrap twice around your hook, go into the same space and pull up your loop, and you've got 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, and then yarn over it once more and pull through the final 2. And that gives quite a long stitch. We've got 1 more to make, so wrap twice round the hook, go into the same space, yarn over and pull up your loop, and you've got 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and finally yarn over and pull through 2. And that is the first half of your corner, and it's also the first big leaf. Now chain 1, and then in this next space we're going to make just 1 single double crochet stitch. Single crochet if you're in the US, double crochet stitch is just the tiny little stitch, it's the smallest one. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and make another double crochet stitch in the next space. So you don't yarn over, you just go into the space, pull up your loop. So you've only got 2 loops, yarn over and pull through both loops. 1, 2, 3 chains, and another double crochet stitch. So you've got your 3 double trebles and then 3 double crochets separated in the middle by 2 lots of 3 chains, 1 chain at the end. So we're going to make the next corner. So it's a chain 1, and then the first double treble, second double treble, and a third double treble. 3 double trebles in the same space, and that's half of the next corner. Chain 2, and then we're going to repeat those 3 double trebles in the same space. And the third one, and there you can see what's happened. We've got half of a corner space, and then we've got these little stitches just carrying you along, and then the next corner. So I'm going to chain 1 and 1 double crochet stitch, chain 3 and 1 double crochet stitch, chain 3 and 1 double crochet stitch, and chain 1, ready to make your next corner. So you've got groups of 3 double crochet stitches between each corner. So next corner is into the next space with 1 double treble, 2, with this yarn, and 3, chain 2, and then 3 double trebles, chain 1, and then 1 single double crochet stitch, chain 3, next space, double crochet, chain 3, next space, double crochet, chain 1. And there you can see what's happening. Your circle is beginning to square off a little. That will become more square with the next round. So I'm going to complete this corner and come down here, and I'll be back at this point where we just need to finish off the first corner. That was my last little double crochet in, chain 1, and then we've got the second half of this corner to do because we just did the first half when we started. So it's 3 double trebles into that corner space. Oops.
And this is the last one. This is the 3rd double treble.
And of course, just to make the corner, we need to chain 2, as you did in the middle of all the other corners, and then slip stitch. And that's you finished with the green. That yarn can be cut. And as always, we're going to turn over. It's almost impossible to see the crochet now for all these ends, but don't worry. It doesn't take long to get them sewn in, and you do that at the end of your square. So our next colour is the cream, and this is where we kind of put a background to the flower and the leaves. And we've got 2 rounds of the cream to do. And this is simple. The next 2 rounds are quite simple. We're going to start in any corner and attach the yarn and chain 2 for the first treble. We're not doing double trebles in these corners. So it's chain 2 and then 1 treble and 2. And that's the first half of your corner. And then just look at the spaces that you've got created by the chain 3s from the previous round, and also that single chain after the double trebles. And you're going to just put 3 treble crochet stitches, 1, 2, 3 in that space, that first chain 1 space, and then another 3 in the next chain 3 space, and another 3 in the following chain 3 space, and you can see how it's forming a nice straight edge, and then 3 in the last chain 1 space before the corner. So you have a total of 4 clusters of treble 3. Did I say chain 3? 4 clusters of treble 3 in between the corners, and we're on to the corner now, so it's treble 3, chain 2 for the actual corner, and treble 3 again in the same corner space. And that's what your first side looks like. Let's pull some of these ends out of the way, and you can see that this is beginning to flatten down. Right, so I'm going to work around here. We've got 4 clusters of treble 3 to go in this side, and then the corner, 4, the corner, 4, and then to finish off that first corner. So I'll come back at that point when I've got to the end. That's all 4 sides complete now, and I just need to finish off that first corner with 3 trebles and chain 2, and then slip stitch into the top of the first treble or the top of the chain 2, whichever is easier, and that is the round complete. Now we've got one more round of this cream to do, because what I'm wanting to do is make this square the same size, exactly the same size as the other squares, which are a different design, and they need to be the same size. So I've got another round of this to do. So for that, I'm chaining 2 before I turn, and you can see that the chain 2 that I've done, I've turned it, and the chain 2 is now at the extreme right of this corner space. So with that in mind, I'm going to make a complete corner because there's room for it. So it's chain 2, 2 trebles, and chain 2, and then 3 trebles. And that's your complete first corner, which you'll need to remember when you come all the way round. This time you'll be slip stitching into the beginning of the corner, not into, you won't need to put in the last 3 trebles. And this round is very easy. All you need to do is put 3 treble stitches in between each cluster from the previous round, treble 3, chain 2, treble 3, and the corners, and that's all there is to it. So I'll just do a couple. No chains between the clusters, it's just one cluster followed by another into the next space, and 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. And you can see that this is actually the front, because our leaves are on the front, and our leaves are showing clearly, and the outer edge of the flower is on its reverse side, so it's puffier. So I'm going to work round here, and I'll see you when I get back to this point. And that is the second round of the cream complete. That's round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, round 7. And just need to slip stitch to fasten off. So that is the square on its side that you'll be looking at it on the blanket, but I'm going to turn it over once more because I've got one more round to do, and there are 2 reasons why I'm doing this round. This is the round of the pale green. The most important one is that I have to get my count of spaces to be exactly the same as the other squares in the center, and they have 9 spaces along each side, which includes the 2 corner spaces. So we've got a little corner space here, because this is a small stitch we're doing with the pale green. We've got a little corner space there, and then so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And you need to have a square that's got 9 spaces along each side, so that everything fits when you're doing the joining stitch. That was why mainly I've put in this extra round, but I also think that since it's the kind of centerpiece of the blanket, it's nice to have a little edge round it. I could have used the cream and done the round in the cream, but I thought just picking out a slightly different colour would make a nice edge to the square. So those are the two reasons. I've turned it over, so this is on it, the square's on its reverse side, and I'm using the double crochet stitch, which is the smallest stitch. I'm using it once more. Why am I doing this in double crochet and not a bigger stitch? And again, it's all about fitting in size with the other squares. You'll see it when I come to show you the other square. If I made this round bigger, it would have the same number of spaces, but it would be too big as a square, and it would maybe puff a little, pucker a little when it was enclosed with the joining stitch. So I'm keeping this stitch nice and small, and chain 1 and 2 double crochet stitches in the corner. 1, 2. Now I quite like to keep my double crochet stitches a little bit looser than the others, just because they are so small and there's a tendency for them to disappear. So if I keep them a little bit looser, they'll stand out a little bit more. I'm going to put a chain 1 after my second double crochet stitch before my next cluster, because they are very small stitches and they have to go over the top of the previous cream cluster. So chain 1 will help you to get there, and then 1, 2, 3 double crochet stitches, chain 1, 3 double crochet stitches. That's all there is to it. Chain 1, 3 double crochets. So that's what the edge looks like. When you get to the corner, it will be DC3, chain 2 DC3, and then round the other 3 sides. And when you get back to the beginning, you finish off this corner with DC3 and chain 2. So I'm going to put this off camera for the moment and bring this one back. And when you look at this one right side up, you can see that the outer edge of the flower is on its reverse side, so it's puffier looking. But the outside edge that you've just done, I've turned it because this was on its wrong side, if you remember. And then once you do the edge, you turn it over. So that was the way I crocheted the edge on this square, but this is the square upper looking front side uppermost. Don't worry about this being on its wrong side, that makes no difference whatsoever. And just to remind you, I think it's a useful idea to put a little stitch marker into the front somewhere, just to remind you that that's the front.